a suburb of Washington. This is the first presidential election since 1976 in which I've not been an active participant. And the reason for that is, as you probably know, I am precluded by U.S. law from participating in partisan activity. That's provided some distance as I think about it, and being a little removed from the hurly-burly of politics, what occurs to me is should be and is a great celebration of the fact that the United States is a democracy. We've been a democracy for more than 200 years. We respect freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. We encourage civic engagement, and it is the process by which the governed select their representatives, in this case a president, 435 members of the House, and 34 members of the Senate. The point that I want to make, and it's important to make, is that the alliance between the United States and Australia will remain strong and vibrant and forward-leaning regardless of the outcome of the election. Last year, 2019, we had more United States congressmen and senators visiting Australia from both parties, than any time since World War II. We steered and shepherded those congressmen and senators all around Australia, met with leaders of both the government and the opposition. And it is clear that the commitment to the alliance with Australia is bipartisan, it's strong, it's enduring, and it will continue in that regard, regardless of the outcome of the election. I was in South Australia last week, meeting with the Australian Space Agency and with a number of leaders down there, and it is clear to me that the commitments at the state visit last year between the Prime Minister and the President, we've made substantial progress on space, on critical minerals and frontier technologies. And again, there's widespread bipartisan support in my country for those priorities. I was in Darwin last month with the Defense Minister visiting the MRF-D Marine Rotational Force Darwin, and again, there's strong bipartisan support in the United States for the strategic and military engagement between our two great countries. The alliance never sleeps. The reason we're having this press conference today rather than tomorrow is I'm leaving this afternoon to go to Newcastle, to RAF Williamstown, to get ready and participate in some briefings for the arrival later in the week of the next delivery of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighters, and to meet with subcontractors, Australian subcontractors who participated in that program. About 50 Australian companies have participated in the Joint Strike Fighter program, and we're going to be meeting with some of those and celebrating the economic engagement, just as we will be celebrating the strategic engagement. So with that, I'm prepared to try to answer your questions.
Thanks, Mr. Ambassador. Lonnie?
Hello, Ambassador. Thank you for that. You've spoken about the US-Australia alliance, but what's the future for the US-China relationship, and how will tomorrow's election result impact that?
I believe that there's widespread agreement in the United States about the challenge presented by the People's Republic of China. And I want to be clear, I'm talking about the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party, not the people of China. But there's widespread spread agreement about a challenge to the Indo-Pacific region presented by the PRC, and that the fundamental China policy will continue as it is, and that Vice President Biden was a member of the administration that articulated the pivot to Asia. So I see it continuing regardless of outcome. Certainly, if there is no change in the administration, the China policy will continue, and I doubt that there'll be many changes if there is a change.
Thanks. Chris?
Mr. Ambassador, you've observed many U.S. elections. I know as a citizen of the United States, at the moment we're seeing shops being boarded up in New York and Washington, concerned there might be violence on the streets of the United States in the wake of a poll like this. Have you ever seen anything like this in the lead up to an American election? And how does it make you feel?
Well, it's concerning, but look, I'm old. I mean, I was in university in 1968. I was a young Republican in 1968. The conventions in '68 were bloody. They were mass arrest. There were demonstrations, and it caught people by surprise, I think. Here, I think it's a good thing that states and localities and the federal government are taking precautions. We respect and honor and enshrine freedom of peaceful protest. Hopefully there will not be a tip and go over to violent protest or unlawful activity, but I think it's probably a good thing people are getting prepared.